But as long as you can see me, that's fine.
Yeah, I see you. I got you. Everything good, man?
Everything's fine, man. Everything's fine.
All right, all right. So this is for my viewers. You are on the Starchildjr Stuffs and Things podcast, where we talk about all types of stuffs and things. And today, I finally got my special guest on the show, Mr. Dennis Chambers. Welcome to the Stuffs and Things podcast, man.
Thank you, baby Starchild.
Oh man. You know what? We're gonna start right there. Last time that I had you on, see, they don't know. We tried to do this a few weeks ago, and you gave up a lot of good stuff before we was even recording. So I'm gonna see if I can kick that back off. Remember, you were telling the story about how you started me off on the drums, because a lot of people don't realize that I like to play the drums, and they don't realize that you the one that inspired me.
Well, not only that, they don't know about with your dad being who he is and the group that he was involved with. You got a chance to meet a whole gang of people, a whole bunch of talented folks, that people that were in that band, people that was around it, witnessing things, and like with Prince used to be hanging out with us doing his first record. Was
Right.
following us around.
Right.
And getting ideas and things like that. And meanwhile, it's history is a funny thing, man. It's like you go through, you do things, and you're not even aware that you're creating history.
Isn't that interesting?
And your dad, people like your dad, Glenn Goins, Calvin, Fuzzy, but mainly your dad and Glenn Goins, man. Like Jesus, man, there was no voice like it. I've sit there and watched Gary, who was like hoarse, couldn't even talk. And then he said, leave me in the dressing room for about a half an hour to 40 minutes. And we leave him in there, and he's got his face over a steamer. Or I've seen him when he had the flu, and he get out there, man, it was like he hit the stage, and it was like, what flu?
Yeah.
I thought he had the flu.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's kicking butt out there. And it was like what today we got people like, or we had the Michael Jacksons, and we had all these people who were singers. Man, people don't have no clue what singing was really about until you join a band, and then you see and witness. I'm going to walk through the house here. You see and hear singers who like sing through the worst crisis went through, and get out there and perform like nothing is wrong with them. I sit there and watch Gary, like, went out, he's giving it his all.
Yeah.
And it's probably like one of the best nights he ever sang. And meanwhile, he's sick as a dog. He backs up off the microphone, and he walks off real slow. He walks off. And then I'm watching him. He's off in the corner, and he's boffing in a trash can. And then, like Bobby Decker, the road man or stage manager, will give him a towel, and wipe his mouth off after giving him some Listerine or something. And he rinses his mouth up and go back out there and hit it again. That is dedication.
Yeah.
You talk to people about commitments like that, and it's like first thing they say, well, you don't pay me enough.
Right.
And with Gary it was like, it was about the pay, but it wasn't really about the pay. It was about the dedication. He had a great time with that band. We had a great time with him. Oh man.
He loved it.
And it was like one big family. And funny thing about P-Funk, it was like if any situation would happen where you mess with one of us, you got to mess with all of us.
Yeah.
since we had a football team of musicians.
Hey, nobody want that smoke.
No, especially with the road crew is just as wild.
Yeah, and mugs from all over, ghettos all over the country, boy. You know what I'm saying? You get all types of flavors of whooping. You mess with this band.
And I remember you know, like I'm like straight out of high school, you know, like and I'm playing with the Brides. That's my introduction into playing with Funkadelic because Skeet was trying to get me the gig when I got out of high school, but every time the chair was open, it would fill up.
Okay.
So Skeet got me the gig with the Brides. That didn't last too long after George saw me, Gary saw me play, or heard me play. And the next thing they just stuck me up there behind the drums and not knowing, man, you know, like we were playing 3.5 hour shows.
Yeah.
Sometimes 4 hours. George would go out there, man, and like we're begging him to leave because he's trying to play or sing everything he know that he can remember in the repertoire of that music. Meanwhile, you know, back then they were real lights. They weren't no like LEDs what they got now.
Yeah.
So when before the mothership comes down, the stage would be like 105, 110 degrees. So we couldn't wait for that sucker to land. You know, and then it lands and the door opens and here comes the CO2 comes out and it cools the stage down. But by the time it comes down, it's at the end of the show. So I, you know, and then my drum riser was like 10 feet off the floor.
That's what I remember.
Somewhere like 10 feet or maybe a little past it.
Yeah.
But I'm up here in the lights, so I'm getting burnt. I look back on some of the video I have, and my head is smoking.
You had pyro next to you, didn't you?
No. The pyro was no.
Oh, okay.
The pyro guy was crazy. It was like this guy was from Vietnam or something. And when he set pyros off, man, you see ceiling tiles coming down.
Yeah, that one part of the aspect of the show used to scare the hell out of me when I used to be a little kid. I remember that as plain as day. Some of those pyro explosions, boom! I'd be like, ah,
man, and it's crazy. You know, you're somewhere like the Capitol Center in Largo, Maryland, down here, or at the Houston Summit in Texas. And all of a sudden you see tiles coming out of the ceiling. And it's like, you know, when you see tiles coming out of the ceiling, this guy is like, he's not mixing this stuff right. And you know, you should be feeling, I'm like, let me see, like from the front of the stage to the drums, I'm about 15 feet, maybe 20 feet back. And when those pyros goes off, I can feel the heat in my face.
Gracious.
And you can see everybody that's down on the floor, everybody's turning around, trying to shield themselves from the heat.
So let me ask you about that, right? So, because Clip likes to tell a lot of stories, right, about that day. So, first off, the pyro guys, it was the Batista brothers.
Yeah,
okay,
it was.
Okay. So this is the story.
It was.
So this is the story that he told us, right? He said, so I seen video, vaguely remember, but I seen video of Felipe doing his thing on Knee Deep. This must be true. So on the video, you can hear Felipe saying like, yeah, because when we get to Houston, you know, home with Earl Campbell and them, and he's talking all this junk. And apparently Clip is telling me, he said the Batistas, they didn't really like Felipe like that. So he said they used to use the pyro to fuck with him. He said like when he would be doing his rehearsal, they would give him just a little light blast, something real light.
No, wait a minute. This is how it really went down. Because you know, like back then, I wouldn't even take the aspirin, you know, so I'm clear as a bell when I saw.
Okay.
And the way it went down, you know, like here come Felipe, who was coming from another world, and he's coming from the Spinners, Tucks and Tails. Meanwhile, you know, you got Funkadelic, you know, this is the Uncle Jam Wants You tour, and we all got army fatigues on, and you know, so it's like a clash of two worlds.
Oh, you're telling
and
it.
Everybody, you know, that knew Felipe, we all loved him. I loved him. I mean, because he was a very unique person. I mean, you know, like this little medley we had of him singing Sadie. He could never finish it. He would like run off stage, and then he would call his kids up, and he's crying You know, because he wanted to make sure his kids, you know, heard his voice before they went to bed. And he didn't care where he was. He made sure he made that phone call.
Oh, okay, that's deep.
So, you know, I love them, you know, for the guy he was. You know, he was a straight up dad, you know. And but everybody else didn't want to know him, didn't want to understand him. They just knew that they hated him.
Yo, you telling the Jeff Bunn version of the story?
Yeah. So when he came in, he had his own pyro.
Oh, okay.
we had we rehearsing knee deep, and you know when we first saw him coming out, he's got on a black tux with tails, with the cane and a top hat. We're all looking at each other like, this guy's kidding me, right? Then they you know, somebody told him that you got to wear army fatigues. And then he would go and set off his pyro, so you got this music going. I mean, bass is nice and heavy, the groove is thick. And then here comes Felipe with his cane, and he points to his pyro, and the pyro went, instead of this loud bang sound.
Oh no!
And the heat, we hear
Pete Shooter.
And then everybody's looking at each other like, and then we all looked over at the Batista brothers. You know, like normally the crew don't stop the rehearsals and anything. So they didn't stop it, but they had to talk with him like, look, Felipe, you know, around here, you know, if is this all the power that you have? They said, yeah. He said, look, we can't use this. You know, when we make a statement here, we make a statement. So Felipe let the guy talk him into using his pyro, or the band's pyro, right? So one night the mothership came down. It was on fire, and they brought it down real slow. And the mothership comes down and it hits the top of the staircase, and that's what sets off the CO2. And then Tony, or drum tech, will pull his rope to open the door, so when the smoke cleared, it looked like George came out of the damn thing.
Right.
So, you know, he just stands there. So one night the thing came down on fire, and I'm throwing drumsticks in the staircase trying to get his attention. And he's in there. You know, you getting his wig cool tight. You know,
getting his cool on. About to
right. He's in there getting it. And then the stick goes right by him, and he picks the stick up and gives me the side. You know, like I'm like, no fool, look up. He looks up. The door, the way it was designed, it was blocked from the outside. So George can't get out of the staircase. And they're bringing this thing down as slow as possible, trying to make sure George get out of it. And make a long story short, George got out of it. He climbed out of the box. And when he dove off, he had a one-piece leotard suit on with a piece of fur hanging between his legs, with a white wig and a white hat, with these big glasses and these crazy-looking dog shoes. Right, so he jumps. Something caught him and turned him upside down, and he came down on his head.
Oh no!
And yanked his clothes off, or yanked off his leotard, and with all the stuff that he was doing in the course of that day, you know, his little private area looked like this. and girls, you know, from from different states, you can see the girls in the front row. They sit there, they're grooving. And then all of a sudden one girl stopped and she hits the other girl, and she's going like this. So you know, they must have called, you know, state to state. The word got out, you know. So the hotel lobbies weren't sold out, you know. Normally, you know, after shows like that, you get back to the hotel and the lobby is sold out, full of people. But after that happened, man, it was like the hotel lobby is not sold out. It's like
Oh
The only
no.
lady that was in down in the lobby is the lady behind the desk.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it was so dry down there. I could have sworn I saw a couple of tumbleweeds going by the door. It was like desert. So anyway, so back to Felipe. He's got this thing going off, and one night after the mothership came down and that incident happened, we're like laughing over that madness. And then now Felipe comes out a few nights later, and he points to the pyro, and it didn't go off. So he danced around some more, and he was looking over at the Batista brothers, and they all looking up at the mothership. They thought they saw something, and they want to make sure they saw what they saw, and they got away from the show there for a second. So next thing they knew, Felipe is making this announcement on the microphone, like the cruise races.
Oh,
and it's a doggone shame, and this, that, and I was like, oh my God, you don't want to go there with these guys,
This means war, buddy.
Yeah, like these guys are like, like they're like the band. You mess with them, you gotta mess with everybody else. So, and since he's the new guy, they really don't like him. And they're going like, well, how can he say we're racist when we're working for a black people? And they were hurt. They were really hurt by it. So the next night or 3 nights later, and we knew something was going to happen, but so we were just waiting. So I forgot where we were. The show was going down, and Felipe comes out, and he's aimed at the pyro on the left. Nothing happened. He turns around, look at the Batista brothers. They're looking at him, smiling. So he walks around like, come on, man, come on, get with him, come on, yeah, And then he aims the pyro on the right side, and nothing happened. So he walking around some more, and then he goes off to the side. Hey guys, can't you see I'm out here? I'm trying to get this. So yeah, we got it. They made up some weird story. So he goes out on stage again, prancing around, trying to finish up his part of that, knee deep. And he's standing over on the right-hand side, and he aimed at the pyro on the left-hand side, and the pyro on the right-hand side went off. Bam! And all of a sudden, you couldn't see him anymore. In fact, I couldn't even see Skeet or anybody on the floor. And last I remember seeing Gary out there dancing, doing that little funny dance.
I'm about to say, doing this rhythmly thing.
Yeah. Or like from behind where I stood, he looked like a duck.
Dennis.
Like with that little skin and bone, like shaking it, and now I can't see nobody. And then the smoke clears, and I'm thinking when the smoke clears, I'm going to see a body on stage, and it's dead. But that's how loud that thing was, right?
They killed him.
The smoke cleared up, and then you're too young to remember this guy named Joey E. Brown.
Okay.
He was an actor from the 40s.
Okay.
And his claim to fame is like he yell. If he's in pain, he yells, but it's a crescendo yell, like a distance.
Okay.
And then it goes into a blood curdling yell. Well, that's what I heard. But meanwhile, while he's yelling, this object or this thing comes running across the stage, and it's got Barry, the clothing guy, who's running behind him laughing. Barry's laughing so hard that Barry can't run and laugh. And meanwhile, Felipe is on fire.
Oh my goodness, man.
He's on fire. He's on fire.
Yeah, this is deeper than
his tails. He's running and his tails are on fire, right? So he runs from the left side to the right side, and then you don't hear him anymore. So And then you hear the scream again, and it gets stronger. Now he's going from the right side to the left side. Now he's got like 5 people on him trying to catch him. But they're all laughing, you know, and they can't catch him. And then somebody, you know, came from both sides and they grabbed him and they picked him up and they threw him down on the floor. And they threw him so hard, I think he bounced once.
Damn.
And then they started rolling him. And it looked like they were scratching a record. Man, I was laughing. It wasn't funny then. And I'm like, oh man, you know, poor Felipe. You know, well, at least he's not dead. He's a little toasty, but he's not dead. You know?
My goodness!
And I look at Skeet. And Skeet looked at me, and we're like looking at each other. And then Skeet started smiling, and then that smile went into a chuckle. And then he started laughing. He almost knocked down the amp wall because he's laughing so hard. And meanwhile, I'm back there trying to get my drum tech to get me a bucket. Because when I start laughing, both sides of my ribs are hurt. And I'll start throwing up, you know. So I'm like, just get a bucket, man. Just go get a bucket right now because I'm in pain. And I look back, every time I look on the floor, somebody's laughing. Oh, man.
Man, that's some Looney Tunes shit there. That's deeper than the story that Clip was telling, man. That's classic.
It was like one of those things I'll never forget.
I bet.
Amongst many other stories.
Oh, I'm sure we could be here all day with that one, man. That is wonderful, man.
Those guys, they were nutty, man. It was like I would go to sleep laughing and wake up laughing for some of the stuff I've seen or been a part of.
And what's crazy for me is I would have never known any of this kind of crazy shit was going on amongst the food, you know, the crowd. All I seen was just a bunch of cool motherfuckers who was always happy and playing music and, you know what I'm saying, just having a good time. You know, like the hijinks that was going on behind that, you know what I mean? Like I was just so oblivious to it as a kid. And as I start to hear these stories, man, and as I get to kind of live my own experience with it, because it hasn't really changed much, you know what I mean? It's especially far as from a chaos aspect of it, you know what I mean? So when you start to hear some of these stories and start to realize like, man, this is just something that's just always been a part of this camp, man. You know, we gonna always be crazy. Damn, I'm getting close.
Man, I tell you, boy, there's some stuff I can't say because they have to protect the innocent.
I dig it. I dig it.
But you know, some of this stuff was just so funny. Like on the Aqua Boogie tour, you know, as you know, it was like the bird and it was supposed to be underwater and all that bull crap. And then they had like these people dressed up in fish uniforms and you know, people walking around slow. And Boogie was part of. I think he was the little. It was like SpongeBob, but in real life.
Yeah, he got the little
and Daryl
red thing.
Daryl Clinton, George, you know Daryl.
Yeah,
man, that dude had on a fish uniform or ice man. He would wear 2 outfits. Either he's the one of the fishes, or he's like Mr. Freeze or something. And he looked like Jack in the Box. He had a Jack in the Box head. Anyway, we watched him. He's moving around slow on stage because you're supposed to be underwater. And I'll be doggone, this cat walked around, and walked right off the front of the stage.
Oh, wow.
He walked right off the front of the so the crew go out there and get him and bring him backstage.
That's so Daryl Clinton-ish too.
He pulled their head off and his eyes are rolling around in his head.
Oh man. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you, people just had no idea of the kind of shit that has gone on behind the scenes at our shows. For as much as they love it and as much as they can imagine, they really just have no idea, man. They have no idea. You know, this is what we got to do, man, because I'm coming up to my 40-minute limit on this thing. We got to do this again sometime, man. You know what I'm saying? Because we can sit and do this here, man. Like, we could do this. Let's do this again sometime, Dennis.
You got me. Whenever you want to do it, you just let me know. We'll set it up now that we got the right format to work this thing.
Yeah, I'm starting to get it. I'm almost down where I can pull you into my thing live too. Like that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to interview you live, but I figured out how to at least capture you and get one out the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said it was cool to be able to do this one because I didn't even really expect it to be this cool. And like I said, this is something we could do all the time, man. I'd love to do this one, man. I even shoot you some of the current stories, you know what I mean? So you can see how much it hadn't changed none.
Well, I can tell everybody right now how much you have changed since the last time I saw you. And the time before that, it was like all I saw this little body with a big head.
That sounds about right. That's me.
Big head. And all you saw was eyes, like you were so wide-eyed, bushy-tailed to
I was about to say curious eyes.
Yeah. And you're like, like watching everything that went on around you.
Oh, that shit was too cool.
But, you were fascinated with the drums. So when I stuck you up there, I put you on my lap at first. No, actually, at first I think I just put you on the drum seat.
Uh-huh.
And you started playing. You had a pocket,
I was about to say, cat.
Yeah.
Cat. Oh, that's what I remember.
Yeah, you had a pocket, so you just couldn't touch the bass drum pedal.
Uh-huh.
So then I figured, well, I'm talking to Gary, or I'm talking to your mom. I can't remember which, but I'm talking to him. I'm like, hey, he's got a little pocket going on. Let's see what happens if I play the bass drum for him. So I picked you up, and I sat down and put you on my knee, and just said, play something. You played a groove. And I just put the bass drum to it. I'm like, you need to get this guy a kit right now.
No, they try to put the guitar in my hands.
Yeah. They figured it probably it'd be less on the nerves to hear guitar than
that's probably what it was.
Blue blast, splash.
That's probably what it was. Because every time I saw a set, you had to pull me, you had to drag me off of that mug all through that. I never lost that itch, man. Every time I saw a set, it was like, ooh. And I just would play that little pocket. That's why I know that pocket you talking about. I remember that pocket. Cat. And I knew I could play. I knew I could play as a kid. I was like, I can play. I knew it. But I never had a set. But I never lost the love for it. So I still kind of dabble with it now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll never mistake me or hire me to be your drummer unless you want a good pocket drummer, because I can lay down some pocket. You know what I'm saying? You need some shuffling and all of that, then you better get a real guy. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get in me to get all of that in, but I can still hold my shit down like a motherfucker, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I still got hell of a love for it, man. Like I like in my mind, you know what I'm saying, I'm doing a whole bunch of shit, you know what I'm saying, when I'm playing the drums. And then when I try, you know what I mean, it's like, that's when I remind myself, like, man, I'm a guitar player. Yeah. But I do fuck people up in the jams.
Well, it's a good thing that you actually learned a melodic instrument. Because I always tell people with the younger musicians now, they're multi-talented. They play drums, they play keyboards, they play guitar, they sing, and they're just as good. They don't have any weaknesses between those things.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I wish I would have started off that way, because it would have made me a better musician as far as writing. And I always tell people, if you're gonna play a melodic instrument, if you don't like guitar, at least play keyboards.
Yeah.
Keyboards is like the center of all these instruments. Yeah. Like, I mean, when you think about it, the left hand is the bass.
Yeah.
The right hand is the chords.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, when you're writing, at least you can play your bass line, play what you want. The right hand is the chords to it, so you can play or tell the guitar player what to play. And if you know harmony, with theory, you could tell the vocals, what notes to hit, and what notes, when it's not happening.
Right.
And that's what made Bernie so special. Bernie, man, I kid you not, man. I think Bernie was from another planet.
Yeah. I
I'm
do
not
too.
kidding.
I do too. I hear it in his keyboards. It sounds like some alienistic shit, man. It's like this dude is.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. The guy was from another planet. I mean, not only when he talked to you, but for me, he's talking to me through the music. And
Yeah.
I never forget one. It was a special night we played in Plainfield, and it was special because all the guys from Plainfield that was in the band at that time, which Eddie came back, he played. Bernie, of course, Bernie was there. Bernie was there the whole time. And then Gary, and then Boog, and then Glenn Goins' brother.
Kevin
Yeah,
Goins.
yeah, he was there, and the guys, everybody was there. And that one night, man, they played a special rendition of Maggot Brain, and I looked down on the bandstand, and half the band was crying.
I bet. I can imagine.
Just the interaction between Bernie, and Bernie set it up.
Yeah.
And then, when he brought Eddie in, Eddie is like, he's another guy from another planet, because I never saw anybody. I mean, as long as I've been knowing that guy or been around him, I never, ever saw him pick up a guitar to practice. In fact, I've seen him where he walk in Regional Funkadelic, Parliament-Funkadelic, and they had to get him a guitar. They bought him a guitar.
Uh-huh.
And normally, when you buy guitars, somebody have to set it up, make sure, and all that, blah, 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 blah.
Uh-huh.
Garrett just, played. He was like, "Oh, it's cool." I mean, Eddie, "Oh, it's cool. I'll play it like this."
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he went out there and he set the bar on another high, and now Mike's got to answer to that, and boy, did he!
Yeah, that had to be magic. That had to be some magic.
Yeah, it was one of those nights. I got chills right now just even thinking about it.
Yeah. Man, that had to been some of the most special shit, man. And you were young, bro. You know what I'm saying? You get to do that young, and it springboarded you to heights, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but it all starts right there. Ain't that wonderful shit, man? Ain't that wonderful shit to have that, like I just to hear these stories, every time I hear these stories, I get them same kind of chills. I get them when I hear the music. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something, it's just something about that music and having those memories to go with it, man, that, you know what I mean? Like no matter how things may have turned out good or bad for folks in this band, those things right there, you know what I'm saying, they are worth like cherishing, man. Like those things are, are those memories and that nostalgia is wealth that, you couldn't obtain any other, it's worth more than gold. You know what I mean? That shit's worth more than gold, bro. So I dig it. I dig it. You know what I mean? Every time I see a video of my dad doing something on that stage that I probably was there to see, every time I watch the videos, it's just like, man, you know what I mean? You just, you puff it makes you puff your chest out, man. You know what I mean? It makes you puff your chest out and be proud. You know what I mean? It's like, you're proud to be a part of that shit, man. No matter what you do, you always proud to have been able to do that. Because what's interesting is I've realized that even the cats that we come across that are like world-class bad, you know what I mean? Even them, when they come across this, man, like that's the real thing, the real kicker is like, even they're like, man, I wish I could do this, and we're sitting back like, yeah, whatever, man. You know what I mean? But just the fact that, just the fact that they're in tune with it like that, you know what I mean? It's musicians from so many different genres and, walks and, yeah, all of that shit is just something to just, it just makes me super proud, man. It makes me super proud. So,
yeah,
super proud. Yeah, and
But I'm so glad I came through when I came through it because, that was a group of special people.
uh-huh.
And
Nah.
a lot more originals were there by the time I got there than, what it ended up being, and oh man, Skeet and I were talking about this where we, every now and then you sit around and you start thinking about, the people, when we got there, who was there and they're no longer with us.
Yeah.
And, you just, I break down and cry sometimes.
Yeah.
And, some of the business or reason why some of the people didn't stop working with George is because of the business that they had with him. And rightfully so. They, like nobody wanted, go through being on tour. You're going through the grind, and you're not getting what you're supposed to be making.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, people like Junie Morrison, your father, Eddie Hazel, Glenn Goins, Boog, Bernie.
I know, man.
And yet, I got a chance. The only person I didn't work with was Glenn.
Yeah.
But I've been around the shows to see him, and it was like a voice. It was like this guy's had a, it was an angel's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody could do that. Nobody could sing like that. Or if you find somebody, it's got to be in the gospel world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. It was exactly that. It was gospel world. And every time Glenn opened his mouth, you could hear the spiritual side coming out of it. Which is very soulful. Very soulful, man. And then when you look back on, now I'm getting a little deep here maybe, but when you look back on the people that you gravitate or you were inspired what inspired you to do music, the people that inspire you, these guys didn't learn this stuff from going to school and learning it. These guys learned it on the corner. Like Bernie went to school. He went to Juilliard, I think. But he was the only one. Everybody else, they just on a corner or in some band and they just were hashing things out.
Church.
And singers, Aretha Franklin didn't go to no school for it. And yet this lady, like right to this day, you listen to something and she may catch you on a weird day, man. You sitting there crying listening to her. Mm-hmm. Stevie Wonder the same way. I remember was sharing a dressing room with Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai, I think it was. And it was a chord night at the NAMM show. George Duke's there, Joe Zawinul's there, some heavyweight guys there. And Stevie came in, he was a little late as usual. And he comes in and and he does this. He does this for a couple of reasons, but a lot of times he's hearing music. Mm-hmm. But when he do this, it stop. And then you say whispering to somebody like Milton, his brother, and he's asking, is there a piano in the room? Well, that day it happened. There was a piano in the room. And he pulled the lid up and he sat down. He played to make sure he was in tune. He played it was a ballad. And he played the song twice as on keys. And then he played it again. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
He played it again. And then the room is getting quiet. And now he's mimicking words. And the third or fourth time he played it, he had the whole song.
Oh, he just wrote something.
He's playing the whole song. And you can hear it. And it was one of those things where with the chords, Stevie, whether he know it or not, he's got a way, he found the magic to feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And he could play with your emotions by just playing certain things. Because when when he stopped and closed the piano lid, you could hear a pin drop in that room, and you could hear people sniffling. They were crying.
Yeah, man. You just angels, man. So transcendent. It was a transcendent artist, man. Transcendent, man. Nobody like him. Nobody like him. And we don't even get musicians like that anymore, man. You know what I'm saying? That kind of saddens me, you know.
Well, and if you do find somebody like that, they're on a destructive path.
Uh-huh.
They're trying to build up like D'Angelo.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, he had it all.
Mm-hmm.
And, he won those Grammys, and then all of a sudden he went haywire.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden wires weren't connecting right in his brain, and he was heading on a destructive path. And this guy, I mean, everybody loved him when he first came out, because those songs were so soulful.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, when he opened his mouth, it was from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like Glenn. I mean, Glenn got on the microphone, it's from the heart. When Glenn opened his mouth and you sing, he'd take you there. Yeah. So. But, I got a chance to see it, but, and witness it and being a part of it. But when you try to tell a younger musician about that kind of stuff, first of all, they have no clue about what you're talking about, because they don't know what that's about, because the world that they live in is totally different than the world I grew up in. Music was different. Yeah. And music was more or less about, like, creating your own path. Mm-hmm. What make a genius a genius as a musician is a guy who writes his own ticket, has his own sound. Mm-hmm. Like, when you hear James Brown, it's James Brown. Mm-hmm. When you hear Stevie Wonder, it's Stevie Wonder. When you hear Marvin Gaye, it's Marvin Gaye. Mm-hmm. When you hear Smokey, it's Smokey. When you hear Diana Ross and Supremes, it's them. All these people, these are geniuses. And these people came out of the 70s, where it was blasphemous to sound like somebody else, or to write like somebody else. That's stuff that happened until the 80s. Okay. So anybody that grew up in the 80s, they have no idea, what was before it, and what was before it. The only thing they get is from records. Mm-hmm. And the records, the records are the records, but the records don't tell you the stories of their lives, or the stories of, like, what make them who they are. Mm-hmm.
Don't give you the essence of why they're badass at what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you go listen to Handcuffs by Funkadelic. Mm-hmm. You listen to that, and then you listen to that song, I Know What You Can Do, Let Us Listen to Funk on You. I don't know the title of that song. I think it's called Bigfoot. I think. Yeah. You listen to that, that's the same guy. Uh-huh. Who's singing it. But you listen to those two things, those two pieces, and they sound like two different guys. Uh-huh. and like Handcuffs, with that soulfulness of him doing what he's doing. And then Bigfoot, when he did that, man, I mean, the range of him screaming or put his gut into the song, man. It's like, you're not gonna get that from no other singer.
Nope.
The only other singers you're going to get that from is guys who grew up at that time and that era. Mm-hmm. And if they got the range, they could do it. Mm-hmm. But still, musicians don't. The younger musicians don't know about DNA. I mean, they know about DNA as far as the body makeup, mm-hmm. but they don't know about the DNA as far as music makeup, and what make. Like, for instance, like as a drummer or as a guitar player, like when you hear Hendrix, it's Hendrix.
Right.
but that's his DNA.
You there? I think they shut us down. I knew that was coming. The show, we went well over 40 minutes.